I don't know, you wanted to talk about that guy. You know, teenagers is generally gentle.
Which guy?
Gentle, you know. I know, but, you know, the teen...
They're listening to you, and they can see you're saying it tongue in cheek. Baba, you can't mock one now. What's wrong with him?
Well, you know, it's, you know, generally believed that the teen years pose some of the most difficult challenges for families, for teenagers themselves, dealing with hormone changes and the ever-complex world, and elections or a lack of it. Now, you know, they themselves may feel that no one can understand their feelings, especially the parents. So let's get into this conversation with Motolani Falabi, who is a family life coach. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you heard her the other time.
My friend's teenage daughter, who's 14, says to her mother, I'm going through a lot.
She's going through a lot.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she is.
Okay, tell us about that.
You know how we assume that as adults...
She's not paying any bills?
Oh, God.
She's living in a free house, she's eating free food.
Yeah.
But she's going through a lot.
She is.
Okay. All right.
I think that parents tend to forget that these children are also humans. They have a lot of emotions also running through them. You know, I had a conversation with some parents just after the election to say, do not take out the anger of what is happening on your children, because they're also hurting. There's a possibility that while all of the activities were going on, you probably didn't even pay attention to them. They didn't feel that you love them, all the words, and they're on social media seeing all the comments and so going on, and you don't think that they're also going through a lot.
That's going through a lot.
You know, yes. So and aside that, sometimes it could be something that has to do with school, some child not feeling accepted, right? So I've had a conversation with a girl who says that I don't think I am beautiful, because nobody had ever told her that she is, and she's a bit, you know, on the big side.
Okay.
Yeah. So she goes to school. Her friends are always, you know, mocking her. Oh, you can't run, you can't do any sport activity. But she's very good with, you know, drawing and anything that has to do with artistics and all. And then, but nobody is seeing the fact that this girl has other abilities, besides the fact that she's, you know, on the big side. But she's not getting that affirmation from home. So she comes home, then any small thing, she has siblings who are also saying, oh, look at how fat you are. And then when she tells you she's going through a lot, it means she's going through a lot. She doesn't feel accepted. She doesn't feel loved.
Going through a lot.
And this is a very important in the life of any child. So you imagine that even as adults, you go out looking all dressed up, and nobody made a single comment about how you feel. I've heard adults even say, oh, what happened? Is it
Good
that
luck,
I'm not...
Good luck to them, they're blind.
I'm not... But of course, these teenagers have not grown that emotionally to be able to say, oh, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care what people see. This is who I am. Because you, the parent, has not even done the job. How well have you, you know, like for me as a teenager growing up, right now I don't feel like anybody is more beautiful than I am. Because I grew up in a house where I'm the only dark person in the house. Every other person is fair because my mom is light too. And then my father tells me every morning that I'm the most beautiful girl in the world. I heard that every morning for so many years, growing up as a child. You cannot tell me otherwise right now. Because somebody had taken his time to say, I know that this lady most likely would be feeling. So we say, oh, you are dark like your dad. So when people say, why are you so different from them? I say, because you're like your dad. You don't need to put too much cream in, you know, or none of this marks. You don't, because for my mom, if you hold her hand too tight, you probably see this reddish, but that doesn't happen with me. But I had somebody who took the responsibility to make me feel comfortable in my skin, to make me feel like I was beautiful enough. So it's important for parents to affirm and confirm their love of their children, no matter how they look. No matter, and make them feel like, because you're responsible for building the esteem of your children.
So the operative word here is feel.
Okay.
That's what you're saying. What you make them feel. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Not even what they do, or, you know, how errands they get sometimes should affect that?
You know, I work with teenagers a lot, and then when I hear parents say, oh, my child is too lazy, my child does not listen, my child is always on the phone playing games all day, my child is this and that, and I am asking the question, this child was 2 in your house, was 3, was 4, moved through that childhood. You groomed, you modeled who that child has become today. That child didn't fall from heaven. So the values you have not instilled in the child, you don't expect to see it as a teenager. It doesn't work that way. So the work that parents had not put in, they're expecting it from the children. So a father says, oh, my child is very lazy. What do you mean lazy? The child does not do what you want him or her to do as at the time you want him or her to do it. Do you even understand the personality of your child to understand how they... But because as parents, we feel you don't have a say as to when I want you to do what I want you to do because we don't think that they're humans.
Parents didn't have a say.
Times have changed. That was your generation.
Times have changed.
You need to understand that the world has moved. It's not the children that has moved. It's not the children that have changed. You didn't have the cell phone. You didn't even have whatever was going to distract you as a child. But look at a baby, 6 months, 1 year, because you are busy, you give them the phone. That's the only thing they know how to, that's the only way they know how to engage themselves. So you say your child is stuck on using, but from childhood, from baby, you're giving them phone, they're watching the cartoon, they are stuck to it. You groom them to depend on that device. So why are we acting like these children suddenly just love to use the phone? When you don't want them to disturb you, you hand over that phone to them to keep them busy. Now, because they don't want to stress you or trouble you, they go back to the phone, then you're complaining, and I'm wondering, who bought the phone? Who gave access? Who gave the child that phone? Were you not already teaching that child from childhood that I am busy right now? You can go ahead and play with your phone, and then they get stuck on it, and they were complaining about how they use their phone. Parents, you gave it to them in the first place. We didn't have all the phones. You didn't have a choice than to maybe read or play with anything physical that you can't see. We're not stuck on phones. We had the Starcoms landline in my house. You can't be playing with that. Unless you want just to pick and drop and maybe, you know, phone your little sister who was just somewhere across you. We handed over the phone to them while they were younger. They are now used to it. They figure out, I was talking to some girl some days ago who was hooked on pornography. Said, I was working on my system and then they had to pop up. I clicked on it, I saw it, and then I was flipping. She didn't go look for it. It popped up as an advert. And majority of the games that we play, you know, I was talking to a teenager and said, even the game that my mom bought for me, and then they gave me some of the names. I'm like, oh, really? He said, yes, there's some porn in there, but my parents are not even aware. So majority of these things, you handed it over to them.
Okay, now, let's talk about this digital space that you just sauntered into now. Right. I'd have loved to speak about character formation and all of that, but we'll come to that. The parent is right now divided between weaning them off of these divisive devices, these distracting devices, and really keeping them up to date. Because the grandmothers of the future are going to be techie.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is no way to do without it. Help parents see how to balance giving them the digital nature in which they were born and keeping them within human environments.
So the first thing I would say to parents is before you allow your child out there, because there are millions of information that they would have access to when they go online. But then the question is, what values have you imputed into them before they went on that platform? Because you will not always be there to see whatever it is that they're doing on their device. But the question is, what have you taught them about pornography? What sexual education have you given to them? What have you spoken to them about integrity, about lying, about bullying others? You know, so the child can go online and see. So it's the preparation before that time. Because some children are really techie, and all they wanted to do has to be done online or maybe on their device. But the values that you have imputed into them is what will make them see some things and say, no, I won't do this because I understand that it is not right. I'd had to handle a case of another boy who masturbates a lot, and because, of course, he had seen pornography. And then I was teaching them about the fact that this industry is in business. They're not trying to teach you how to have better sex. And he said, oh, he didn't know. A friend of his had mentioned it to say, oh, if you want to have better sex, because a lot of his is 14. A lot of his friends they already have girlfriends, they're having sex already. So they felt 14. Like, yeah, they're 14. And that if he watches it, it teaches him how. And by the time I was done, and then he came back, he said, it was just a class on that, on pornography. But he came and said, I want to see you, ma. I'm sure you're going to be very disappointed. I said, no, I wouldn't be. And then he said, oh, I'd watched it a couple of times, but I watched it because of this. But now that you have said this, I was feeling bad because I was thinking it was going to teach me, because I made them realize that. So if you had watched this and you're married in the future and then your wife has not watched it, it's going to eventually become a problem. And then he said, oh, I didn't see it that way. Now the question is, who are the parents? What have you taught them? To say you don't go online and, insult other people. I see comments, you see things happening online, and some young girl goes in there and bash the adults. What has our parents taught her about respect, whether it's physical or online? So all of these habits that people are taking online, they would have done it even if it's physically. It's in them. So the question is, imbibe values into your children, because you will not always be there with them, so that they are able to make those decisions to whether do this or not do that, even when you're not there.
Now, there's this saying that it takes a village or so to raise a child.
Yeah.
Now,
it sure does.
It's just you.
It sure does.
Now, how about you are the one that gave birth to the child.
Okay.
Parents are sometimes a little too busy in urban Nigeria. That's no excuse. But that is the reality for the parents. Let's talk to parents who right now have children that are quite a handful. How do they begin to navigate back? This session is definitely, we're going to have a list of things we'll take on from time to time, but help us speak to parents who need to navigate back to helping their children, their teenagers and all, balance out all over again.
To say, oh, my child is now a teenager, I can't get hold of this child, where do I start from? Sit down and have conversations. You'll be surprised that they need to be able to trust you again. Parents have not learned to build relationship with their children. We want to bond with our spouses. We want our spouses to love us more. We are more careful about speaking our spouse's love language because we want the marriage to work. What are we doing intentionally with our children to bond with them, to make them feel that we love them? Or we don't think that they also need that? Relationship, I think, is what is most lacking. We give birth to them, we give them every other thing they need, and then out. Do your children really feel that you love you? I speak to majority of these teenagers, and they say, I don't think my parents love me. So, but you say, I'm doing a lot, I'm providing. If your child says, I don't think you love me, he or she meant, I don't feel loved. Stop trying to excuse it. Have a conversation with your teenager, with your children, and say, I just learned something new. I'm not sure that I've been doing the best with parenting, but forgive me. I'm doing the best that I can with the knowledge available to me, but now I want to do it better. I don't think that we're close enough. What do I do? The same way we're trying to bond with our partner, we're reading, we're making inquiries, we're even asking our partner, how do you want me to be a better spouse? Do you sit with your children and ask them, what is it that I'm doing that you don't love? What is it that you want me to stop doing? What is it that you want me to start doing? Can we have a me time? Can you sit down when you're having a conversation with your children? Are you on your phone, pressing your phone, making them feel like they're less important, or that whoever it is you're talking to is more important than they are? You need to sit with them and have this conversation to say, I want us to bond. Because it's only in the place of rapport that you can get to know what is happening with them. Someone said, my mom thinks that we are best friends, but I'm just acting along to make her feel. Yeah, my mom thinks that we're best friends, but we're not. And when I told the mother, I asked her, what's your relationship with her? She said, we have a very good one.
We're cool.
Ma, you're far from cool. So I brought them together and say what you said. He said, Mommy, you shout a lot. When I'm trying to have a conversation with you, you're not listening. You're always insulting me. Even when I'm saying the truth, Mommy, you don't believe me. So there's no point. So I do whatever I do. And because you also beat me, I do whatever I want to do because, well, it will always be beaten. And I'm used to the beating anyways. So we are raising children who they would get to a level where we will not even be able to have a say in their life. Because on what basis? Even as adults right now, there is someone, if you get on a call, say you want to call your dad. As parents right now, you probably still have your own parents. Who do you spend more time with on the phone when you call? Do you spend longer time with your dad or you spend longer time talking to your mom? That's the person who had invested some level of, you've had that level of relationship which you can confide in. Some people right now, even as adults, cannot confide in their parents because they didn't have that relationship. Now, where you need to start from is sit with your children today and say, I want to be a better parent. What do you want me to do? And then let's discuss it. And it won't be a one-off. It could be once every week to say, okay, so what are we doing this week? Everybody in the family, do they even know what we're trying, the kind of family we're trying to build? To say as royalties that we have, we don't behave this way. We don't dress this way. We don't do this way. Your children are not even aware of what your family values are. They are not aware of the goal ahead that the family is trying to work towards. So, but then you want them to behave it. I think we have too much expectation of these children when we have not taught them what is expected. So have that conversation. Let them tell you how they feel about your parenting style. And when they give you the feedback, don't keep shouting and say, no, that's not it. I'm doing it. If your child says, Mommy, I don't think you love me, accept that feedback and work on it. And then ask, how then do you want me to love you? A child says, Mommy comes back from work. I'm trying to have a conversation with her. And she says, leave me. I went out all day to work to get money for you. I can't come back now yet. And she's the only girl. She's the only one at home. You go to work. She comes back before you. She's all by herself. She's reading all evening. So you get back. And she wants to have a conversation. I understand that parents are really tired. Of course, by the time you go in traffic, you're back, you're exhausted. It might just be 15 minutes of, oh, really? Show that you care. Show that they matter to you. Show that I'm listening. Sometimes some parents will say, oh, I wasn't really listening, but I just wanted her to know that I got you. So even if it means that you, at the time, pretend that you're listening, just so that this child feel that they are important, because what they're not getting from home, they'll get outside. Because this girl has a best friend who she says, oh, I tell her everything. God help you. The girl or whoever it is she's talking to outside has some right values. If not, then you have something else in your hands to deal with. So no matter how busy you are right now, you will still have to deal with it. We tell people that parenting is an 18-year curriculum. By 19 years, your results will be out. Because that time your child tells you, I'm an adult, Mommy, you can't tell me that. Oh, Daddy, you can't tell me that. They're probably in the university, and then they won't come home. You say, oh, I don't know what's happening. He goes to school and doesn't come back home. To come back to what? To your shouting and your screaming? We never have any conversation because Mommy doesn't think it's necessary. So parents, we need to do better. We need to treat these children as if they're also important.
I value something that you said now, that parents, or the whole families, need to have a set of values that they prioritize and imbibe in their children.
Exactly.
Do you see that lacking generally, or is it just in pockets?
It's lacking generally. That's we say that family is a production factory of the society. What you see out there is an example of what is happening within the family. How many family has family values and vision?
So marriages are contracted just for the husband and the wife, not with a vision of raising children for the society. That's what you're saying.
They're not even thinking about it. Because every child out there right now troubling the world came out from a family. In fact, the adults that we are all complaining about troubling our world came out from a family.
The area boy.
The area boy.
Family.
It came from a family. If we have all done what we needed to do, we would have all turned out better citizens. So if the people we see around Nigeria right now, do we see people with values? If we don't, then majority of the family, a lot, let me not say majority, a lot then do not have values, because we would see everybody in the society right now, to the politician, to the Okada rider, to the someone in the public sector or private sector, someone in an organization who comes late to work, or someone within the private sector who is rude to the boss, or someone in the private sector who is stealing. They all came out from a family. What value was imputed into them?
We are very sober.
we're going to answer this. I hereby, on behalf of all parents who have not done as well as you have accused us, I hereby take your lashing and layard.
And we apologize our children.
To the children.
And say we are going to try and do better. There's no manual for parenting. We should understand that. Like we always say, that mine has turned out okay, or that yours has turned out okay, is by the special grace of God. There's no manual. You do your best, and you leave the rest.
I guess someone is going to have to come up with that manual. For now, we have to thank you for being here. Motolani Falabi is a family life coach. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we just have some tension-easing moments? When we return from
we are just being given some humble pie.
We'll be right back.